I know everybody's here for the college hoops, so let's get this out of the way. 521 Boston plus the 2. 527 Knicks -4 after the drop. Got dummied down to -4. And then 530 under 228 Miami, Chicago. Over in college basketball, 603 Kent State minus the 7.5. 627 Kentucky plus 5.5. 666 UNLV plus the 3.5. 646 Loyola Chicago minus the 1.5. 650 Northwestern -1. 664 BYU on the money line. And 665 Georgia Tech plus 13 and 12.5. So already out betting some of these college basketball.
Yeah, we already saw them play once back in the beginning of December. The Cavs won 115 and 111. And the Cavs, I mean, I thought it was a little bit smoke and mirrors, but they haven't really slowed down. They're now, 40-9, I believe, still haven't had double-digit losses. And like I mentioned, they already beat this team. If you look at what they've been doing lately, they're off of a 40-something point win, a 20-something point win. Like, they've won their last 4 games by close to 20-plus points each. So they're playing really good basketball in rhythm. Sitting here at the house, it's very hard for me to go against them. They've only lost 4 games at home all season long. The Celtics, they're a team that they get up for certain games. Like if they feel it's a big game or if they feel they got embarrassed or lost a game, then they'll get up and play a really good game the next time out. It could be this time when they see a team that they lost to, a team on the top of the Eastern Conference standings. But personally, I care more about current form. Team has been doing it consistently, so I'll lean with the Cavaliers at the house for this matchup. They haven't been my LA Clippers for a long time. But I'll say I do actually like this Clippers team. Like compared to previous years, like I'll give this Clippers team some credit. They look good. I like the way they're put together. And I think they have a better chance of competing than previous years. As far as this game, Lakers do have the rest advantage. It's a chance for them also to get some in-season revenge in this game. They did win back-to-back games in blowout fashion. But this particular game against the Clippers is tough. You have a Clippers team coming off of a loss, so they should be motivated to bounce back here. And this Clippers team has been playing really good at home all season long. I believe they've covered 12 out of 15 games at the house. So just kind of, maybe you'll say Jekyll and Hyde, home and road, however you want to call it, for this Clippers team. They're healthier right now. They're where they play their best basketball. I could only look at the Clippers from a spread perspective. From a total, I mean, no Anthony Davis, no Max Christie. That's a lot of defense that you're missing. And they haven't really gotten any replacements yet. Gabe Vincent, he's probably going to be one defender, maybe Vando, but it's just not a whole lot of people on this roster right now that you can trust to get stops. So I think the market has moved correctly towards the over from 216.5 up to 221.5. And I don't even think it's moved enough. I think they can still get over that. It's pretty easy for me. I mean, it's a recurring wager that I make every single year. And it could happen just the regular flow of the game. The most common way it happens is they throw a flag in the end zone or in the red zone, whatever. The ball is placed on the 1 yard line. And the team just, in a Super Bowl environment, they're going to go for it. Especially the Eagles. You got Saquon, you got the tush push. They're going to go for that. The under 1.5 yards for shortest touchdown is hit 7 of the last 9 years, 24 of the last 35 Super Bowls. The price, similar to what Ralph said, it continues to go up every year. It was around minus 165. And if you look at the implied probability of that, that's about 62.5%. And it hits a little bit closer to 70%. So I still think it's a good bet. And I can absolutely see it between these two teams.
Well, I already have a best bet loaded. I'm 17-1 on football best bets. I already have 3 prop loaded and might have a best bet prop where we're going to see as I work on the last few. This is actually one of my client releases, Steve, and it is a plus money prop. So I always look to try to get a few plus money props. If you split them, you make money. And it is Xavier Worthy will score a touchdown, and we're getting plus 155. Now listen, Worthy started the season slow. He only had 9 receptions in September, 10 in October, 14 in November, and 26 receptions in December. He was the number 2 receiver as far as targets goes. Of course, he trailed Kelsey. Kelsey had 145 targets, but this kid had 111 targets this year. In the playoffs, he's had 11 receptions. Kelsey has only had 9, and no other receiver, running back, or tight end has had more than 3 catches. And this season, he's leading the team in receiving touchdowns with 7. Kelsey has 4, Gray has 5, Hopkins has 4. Getting this guy who is blossoming him late in the season in this situation at plus 155, let's see a Xavier Worthy anytime TD.
What's your take on this Kentucky team tonight? They had the big upset win against Tennessee last week before that game on Saturday.
Well, first, let's say this. Kentucky as a dog this year, not only 4-0 against the spread, but they pulled a 4.5-point upset at Miss State, a 5.5-point upset versus Duke in a neutral setting, a 6.5-point upset versus Gonzaga in a neutral setting, and a 10.5-point upset at Tennessee, in a game you mentioned. Kentucky is a very fast-tempo team. They're number 38. They're also a poor defensive team. When you look at like Torvik since the turn of the calendar, Kentucky is the number 1 most efficient offense. Their defense is over 150. It is not good. You look at Ole Miss, though. They're in a bit of a funk themselves. You are 1-4 straight up. You have failed to cover 4 straight games. And at home, you're 4-6 ATS overall. But how about this number, Steve? Ole Miss in the first half at home. You want to talk about slow starts? They are 1-9 against the spread. Now, that situation would say, I like Kentucky or I like Kentucky first half, but I can't get there for just one reason. Kentucky's best player, point guard Lamont Butler. No question about it. He's missed the last 2 games. So that Kentucky upset against Tennessee is even better, knowing that Butler didn't play, and then he wasn't there against Arkansas. I can't back Kentucky in a true road game, even though they won at Tennessee, if Butler does not go. If I read later that Butler is going and is 100% healthy, I may actually take a look at this game. But for my best bet here on WagerTalk today, I am going to go team total Ole Miss over 80.5. Again, we've talked about Kentucky's defense. Ole Miss's offense, they do not turn the ball over, folks. They are number 3 in the country in fewest turnovers. Guess what? Kentucky's defense is number 341. So you have a team that is not going to have pressure against an opponent that may not have their point guard covering your point guard with an efficient offense against a very inefficient defense for the Wildcats. So for me, team total, the Rebel over 80.5. Well, Vandy got a lot of attention early in the season. And Steve, you talked about those ratings and how many SEC teams were at the top of the standings. This is almost a historically good conference. If you look at Ken Palm's ratings for the SEC, the worst team in the conference is LSU at about 78. If you look at the ACC this year, they have 8 teams that are ranked number 99 and higher. So think about that. The LSU team in the SEC would be a middle-of-the-road team in this year's weak ACC. So something to think about when we get into March Madness with the competitiveness of these conferences. Now, we talk about revenge, and Florida has revenge. Florida lost as a 9-point away favorite last year in March. And in fact, Florida has lost 3 of the last 4 meetings to Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt is a team, their basketball team and their football are basically the same. When you travel to Nashville, the crowds haven't been historically good. And I think a lot of times SEC teams look down when you travel to play Vanderbilt. But now, with Vanderbilt's early upset, beating Tennessee as a home dog, beating Kentucky as a home dog, beating Nevada Wolfpack as a dog, you're looking at a situation where teams are not looking past or taking Vanderbilt as lightly. But when I look at Vanderbilt in true road games, they've only played 5 true road games. The favorite has covered all 5 of those by 10 points per game. Now, I wanted to mention the gold sheet, and I went to the gold sheet to see if they had any notes about this. So I'm going to rattle off these notes from the gold sheet. Florida may be coming off a 20-point loss to Tennessee, but they made more free throws and field goals in that contest. The reason they lost, their star 2 players, Martin and Clayton, 5 of 25 from the floor. They couldn't bounce back. In their 2 games this year off a loss, after losing to Kentucky, they beat Tennessee by 30. After losing to Missouri, they crushed Texas by 24. In the 16-team SEC, Vanderbilt is number 14 in defensive efficiency, last in field goal shooting allowed, 15th in the number of free throws they allow. They foul a lot. And last in 3-point shooting allowed. So you have all those negative defensive categories is a situation where I will look for the Florida team total to go over. I also do like the team total over as well. Florida presses the pace as much as anyone. They're number 31 in offensive tempo. Vanderbilt number 30 in offensive tempo. So I'm going to split this best bet. Full game over the total. Florida team total over the total. We'll see if the Gators can get it done for us this evening.
Let's talk a little bit about the Lakers. I'm going to go with Austin Reaves over 4.5 rebounds. Steve, this is pretty straightforward. The Lakers have now gone from Anthony Davis to Jackson Hayes as their big rebounder. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they might need a little help rebounding. Reaves has gone over in 5 straight games. And the last 3 games without Anthony Davis, he's had 6, 6, and 5. So LeBron, Reaves, Hachimura, those guys are all going to have to help crash. Kawhi's playing. That's a big body. Obviously, Zubac. I mean, Steve, Zubac's rebound number tonight is 12.5. That's how big the opposing team center is against the Lakers. So it's just going to have to be a team effort from the Lakers. So I'll take Reaves to go over 4.5 rebounds. Oh, we've done really well betting on Sam Bennett this season, so we're going to keep it rolling over 2.5 shots on goal. This was a free play that we put up on our page and actually decided to throw it in as a client play. Steve, this guy is firing the puck at an astounding rate the last 10 games. Easily gone over this the last 10 games. 7.1 shot attempts and 4.9 shots on goal. So we only need him to get to 3. In the last 10 games, this guy is averaging 4.9. He is just every time he gets the puck, it seems like he's firing it towards the net. So it's a pretty decent matchup for him tonight. This is one of those where, like Joe Ranieri says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know how I love riding these streaks, Steve. I find these guys and you just play the same play over and over and over again. So Sam Bennett, over 2.5 shots on goal, has got to be a play tonight. Here we go again. Just rinse and repeat. You got to commit to playing this every single event. This was one of our best ones of the year. I'm giving you guys my best stuff here. So John Rahm goes to the Live Tour. The Live Tour only has like 60 guys playing. They're not that great. There's only like 3 or 4 guys that I would say are elite golfers. You got Tyrrell Hatton, Joaquin Niemann, John Rahm. But Cam Smith, he used to be winning majors. Now he doesn't care. Brooks Koepka, his career's on the backside. So you got John Rahm to finish top 10. And last year, Steve, in 13 live events, he only finished outside the top 10 one time. And that was when he had to withdraw because he had a foot infection. It wasn't even play. It wasn't even caliber of play. It was because he had an infection in his foot. So this play is minus 170, and most people would say, well, that's really expensive. I think it's a steal. This is a steal. He finishes in the top 10 every single time. He's the best player on that tour. So this week, the tournament starts on the Eastern time. It starts about 8:30 in the morning. But they're playing it overseas. And Steve, this is crazy. They're playing at night. They have lights on this golf course. So they're going to be playing at night, but it starts in the morning our time. So you're just playing John Rahm to finish top 10 in all of these live events. And again, if I hit 12 out of 13 of these, Steve, and I'm only playing minus 170 each time, yeah, this is going to be a moneymaker all season.